Have you ever wondered what would happen if the thoughts you hold in your mind could actually reshape your reality? What if I told you that the power to transform your life isn't found in some distant spiritual realm, but resides within you this very moment? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. The imagination we've been taught to dismiss as mere fantasy is actually a divine creative force, a Christ-guided power within you, capable of manifesting tangible miracles in your everyday experience. This isn't wishful thinking or some new age concept. It's a profound spiritual truth that has been hidden in plain sight throughout sacred teachings. Has this ever happened to you? You've focused intensely on something you desired, perhaps healing, a relationship, or abundance, and despite all logical reasons it shouldn't happen, it materialized in your life as if guided by an invisible hand. That wasn't coincidence. That was your divine imagination at work. The gap between your current reality and your deepest desires isn't nearly as vast as you've been led to believe. What separates them is simply your ability to hold a clear, unwavering image in your consciousness and infuse it with the conviction that it already exists. This is the essence of faith, not blind belief, but the conscious activation of your divine mind. Stay with me until the end of this series, because what you're about to discover might completely transform how you pray, how you think, and ultimately, how you create your life experience. We've been taught to pray by begging, by asking, by hoping, but true spiritual masters understood that prayer is actually an act of imagination, of seeing the good as already accomplished. Think about it for a moment. Everything that exists in our physical world once existed only as a thought, an idea, a mental picture, in someone's mind. Your home, the device you're watching this on, even the clothes you're wearing, all began as imagination before manifesting as reality. This creative process isn't reserved for special people. It's your birthright as a divine being having a human experience. The journey to manifesting miracles begins with activating this divine mind within you. It requires learning to visualize with absolute clarity and aligning with the Christ energy, that spark of pure creative potential that resides at your core. This isn't about forcing or manipulating reality through willpower. It's about aligning with the natural flow of creation itself. What separates those who seem lucky from those who struggle isn't external circumstances. It's their capacity to hold an unwavering image of what they desire and to feel the reality of it before physical evidence appears. This is what Jesus meant when he said, "Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." The world you experience is a direct reflection of the images you consistently hold in your imagination. When you change those images with conviction and feeling, your external reality has no choice but to follow. What would happen if you began to use this divine faculty consciously, deliberately, with purpose and faith? As we continue in the next segment, I'll show you exactly how to release your imagination from the chains of doubt, fear, and limitation. We'll explore how to declare, with conviction, that what you imagine shall become reality, creating a bridge between the invisible realm of potential and the visible world of experience. Ready to transform your life through the power of divine imagination? Subscribe to our channel now and join thousands of conscious creators who are learning to manifest their highest vision. Each week, we explore deeper dimensions of Christ consciousness, revealing practical techniques that turn spiritual principles into tangible results. When you subscribe, you're not just following a channel, you're joining a community of like-minded souls committed to mastering the creative power within. You'll receive immediate notifications when new videos are released, ensuring you never miss the exact teaching you need in the moment. The journey of transformation we've begun today continues with exclusive content only subscribers receive. Click the subscribe button now if you're ready to claim your divine inheritance and activate the Christ imagination that can literally reshape your reality from the inside out. Your subscription is more than a click. It's a declaration that you're ready to move beyond limitation into the boundless creativity that is your spiritual birthright. Join us on this sacred journey today. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic of divine imagination. Within every human soul, there exists what we might call an inner manger, a humble, silent corner set apart from the noise and distraction of daily life. It's not ornate or impressive. It's simple, quiet, and often overlooked. Yet this unassuming space within your consciousness is where the most profound transformations begin. Think of it as your soul's sacred workshop, where divine ideas can be conceived away from the world's clamor. In our journey toward manifestation, we often overlook this critical truth. Revelation doesn't seek grand palaces or impressive temples. It seeks receptivity. It seeks emptiness. It seeks a willing imagination ready to receive. This receptivity is the hidden key that unlocks the door to manifestation. Christ or divine wisdom is born where there is space for it. The goodness you seek incarnates when your mind conceives it through inner vision, not through intellectual study or strenuous effort. This represents a profound mindset shift from the way most of us have been taught to create change in our lives. The ancient text tells us, "The Word became flesh and dwelt among us." Beyond its religious significance lies a remarkable metaphysical revelation. Divine ideas, the Word, transform into physical manifestations, flesh, through the bridge of imagination. This process reveals the underlying mechanism for how humans can transform their world by aligning thought with divine principle. This journey of transformation isn't about forcing reality to bend to your will. It's about creating an internal environment where divine ideas can take root and grow naturally. When you hold an image in your mind with emotional intensity and unwavering faith, you're not just daydreaming, you're participating in the very act of creation itself. The decisions you make about what to hold in your imagination aren't trivial. They're the foundation of your life experience. The world you see around you began as invisible thought before it materialized. This revelation changes everything about how we approach challenges, desires, and possibilities. If you're resonating with this teaching on a deep level, write in the comments, "My mind is my manger." Now, as we explore the practical application of these principles, let's examine a revolutionary insight that will transform your approach to prayer entirely. The golden rule of true prayer isn't asking, begging, or crying out in desperation. It's affirming and declaring with conviction. This revelation completely shifts our mindset. Do not ask, affirm. Do not cry, declare. Do not beg, imagine. Effective prayer isn't about convincing some external force to intervene in your life. It's about seeing the good as already accomplished in your mind's eye. This powerful truth remains hidden behind the scenes of most spiritual teachings, yet it's the essential catalyst for genuine transformation. When you pray with affirmation rather than supplication, you're no longer positioning yourself as separate from what you desire. You're acknowledging the inherent unity between your consciousness and divine manifestation, the most significant event that can occur. In your life journey isn't external achievement or recognition. It's the birth of Christ in your consciousness. This isn't about religious doctrine, but rather an inner awakening where your soul recognizes its divine origin and begins manifesting the kingdom of God in everyday experience. This awakening changes everything: how you perceive yourself, how you interact with others, how you navigate challenges. The impact of this realization extends far beyond momentary inspiration. It fundamentally alters the decisions you make and the actions you take because you now understand the creative principle at work through you, not separate from you. Perhaps the most profound revelation lies in understanding imagination's true nature. Far from being a minor faculty or childish distraction, imagination, when properly directed, becomes the creative organ of your entire life. When spiritual truths are held with faith in your imagination, you are literally conceiving Christ within yourself, planting seeds that must eventually bear fruit in your visible experience. This understanding liberates you from seeing imagination as mere fantasy and repositions it as your primary creative tool. The images you consistently hold determine the contours of your life experience with mathematical precision. If you're experiencing an aha moment right now, type "divine imagination activated" in the comments. Your conscious mind may only grasp the surface of these principles, but something deeper within. You recognizes these eternal truths on a much deeper level. Let me share something profound about creating sacred space in your consciousness. When Jesus instructed his followers to go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is in secret, he wasn't merely talking about physical location. He was revealing a blueprint for accessing the intimate sanctuary of consciousness, where real transformation happens. This inner sanctuary isn't a metaphor, it's a genuine realm within you where divine communion occurs. Setting aside external distractions and halting the erratic flow of human thought creates a pathway to your authentic creative power. In today's world of constant notifications and endless stimuli, this teaching becomes even more revolutionary. The breakthrough you've been seeking doesn't require external resources. It requires internal retreat. Be still and know that I am God. These ancient words reveal a fundamental revelation about stillness that most seekers overlook. Stillness isn't passive waiting or empty meditation. It's an active spiritual discipline requiring mastery over your mind. When you deliberately remove your consciousness from fear, habitual thinking, and worldly opinions, you allow your imagination to become a sacred major for divine ideas. This deliberate cultivation of mental stillness represents the ultimate insider strategy for manifestation. The outside world's chaos can't compete with a mind trained to hold steady in the presence of truth. The journey to mastery begins with recognizing that your attention is your most valuable currency. Where you place it determines what grows in your life. Preparing this inner manger means taking an image of good, whether it's perfect health, harmonious relationships, or abundant provision, and protecting it mentally with the same vigilant care you would give to a newborn child. This is where most manifestation attempts break down, conceiving the image, but then exposing it to doubt, criticism, and fear, rather than nurturing it with daily prayer and contemplation. The spiritual warriors who've changed history understood this hidden truth. What you protect in consciousness eventually becomes your visible experience. Your inner environment is the true foundation of your outer reality. If you recognize yourself as a guardian of divine imagination, write, "I protect my inner manger" in the comments. The creative power that resides within you responds to this level of mental clarity and emotional commitment. Now, let me reveal something even more fundamental about the creative process. When imagination is sustained in sacred seclusion, it literally becomes the womb of the soul, a sacred space where divine ideas gestate before manifesting in your visible world. This revelation transforms our understanding of manifestation at its core. The universe doesn't respond to casual thoughts or fleeting desires. It answers only to clear, intense, emotionally charged images that have been deeply formulated within this inner sanctuary. This explains why some prayers seem to manifest while others fade away without result. The difference isn't divine favoritism, but rather the depth and clarity with which the image was formed and held in consciousness. This journey of transformation requires a vigilance most aren't willing to maintain. Here's a profound truth that masters of manifestation have always known. Whoever watches what they imagine watches their destiny. The images you consistently entertain in your mind are not passive entertainment. They're active blueprints for your future experience. When you pray by imagining the good as already accomplished, feeling the joy, gratitude, and peace of your desire fulfilled, you actually accelerate its manifestation. The key insight here is that whoever imagines from a place of faith rather than fear actively participates in the birth of divine consciousness within themselves. This represents a complete paradigm shift in how we approach creation. Behind the scenes of every genuine transformation is this hidden truth. Each mind is a manger, a sacred birthplace for divine ideas. Just as Mary said, "Let it be done unto me according to your word." Each soul is called to this same receptivity. The birth of Christ consciousness isn't merely a historical event to be commemorated once a year. It's an eternal possibility available in every heart, at every moment. This revelation strips away the middlemen and institutions that have positioned themselves between you and direct spiritual experience. The responsibility for conceiving and nurturing divine ideas falls not on external authorities, but on your own consciousness. When you fully grasp this principle, you'll never again surrender your creative power to others. If you're ready to become consciously responsible for what you conceive in your imagination, write, "I am Mary to my Christ" in the comments. The awakening that's beginning to unfold within your consciousness isn't random. It's a response to your soul's readiness for a higher level of creative expression. Let me share with you a fundamental revelation about the nature of your reality itself. Everything you have experienced in your life up to this moment, without exception, has been the result of your thoughts. This statement may seem radical, but it forms the very foundation of spiritual understanding across traditions. What forms in consciousness eventually appears in external life through a creative principle that works with mathematical precision, thought, feeling, form. The ancient wisdom, "For as he thinks in his heart, so is he," isn't poetic metaphor. It's an exact description of the creative mechanism operating in every human life. Your current circumstances are the physical manifestation of your predominant mental images. This insight leads us to a revolutionary approach to manifestation that most spiritual seekers miss entirely. Jesus revealed this breakthrough strategy when he taught, "Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Notice the sequence: belief precedes manifestation, not the other way around. This formula requires a complete inner transformation, imagining with absolute certainty, feeling deeply from that place of completion, and waiting without anxiety. The challenge is that most people will only believe after they see evidence, which creates a perpetual cycle of limitation. The spiritual master operates from an entirely different paradigm, seeing first in consciousness what has yet to appear in form. This represents a profound shift in your manifestation blueprint. Now, let's distinguish between two very different mental activities that are often confused. Logical thought analyzes, compares, and calculates. It has its place in everyday functioning, but possesses no creative power on its own. Vivid imagination, however, is the actual spiritual organ through which the soul creates. When you imagine with intensity, emotion, and clarity, you literally engrave an image in your subconscious mind, which then works tirelessly to produce it in your external experience. This explains why some people can apply all the intellectual knowledge in the world, yet see minimal results, while others with passionate, emotionally charged visions manifest seemingly impossible outcomes. The journey of transformation isn't about thinking harder. It's about imagining more vividly and feeling more deeply. If you've experienced moments where your imagination produced tangible results in your life, write "Creator Consciousness Activated" in the comments. This distinction between intellectual understanding and creative imagination opens up an entirely new dimension of ability. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing something truly revolutionary about faith itself. "According to your faith be it unto you" isn't merely a religious promise. It's an exact description of the mind's fundamental operating mechanism. Faith doesn't wait for external confirmation before acting. It actually provokes manifestation by setting in motion both internal and external resources to realize possibilities. This revelation transforms our entire approach to creation. Faith becomes not a passive hope, but an active catalyst that literally rearranges the invisible substance of the universe. When you genuinely believe in something before seeing evidence, you're not being irrational. You're applying the most powerful manifestation blueprint available to humanity. Consider this paradigm shift. Everything in your visible world, from the device you're watching this on to the room around you, first existed as an invisible idea in someone's mind. The visible world is literally the condensation of invisible thoughts. Matter doesn't command, it obeys. Form doesn't dictate, it expresses. This understanding grants you far greater authority than you've imagined. The power to consciously choose which mental images you'll give form to in the substance of your life. This insight reveals the hidden structure behind every transformation, every breakthrough, every seemingly miraculous healing. The spiritual masters weren't defying natural law, they were applying it with perfect understanding. They knew that consciousness comes first, form follows. Yet most people make a critical error in their approach to change. They attempt to alter situations without changing the thoughts that caused them in the first place. This is like frantically emptying water from a flooded room while leaving the faucet running. It creates an exhausting cycle of temporary fixes that never address the root cause. The journey to mastery requires a complete reversal of this approach. Don't fight symptoms. Go directly to the root thought and replace it with truth, sustained with emotional conviction. Don't battle physical effects. Transform the mental cause. This represents the most profound efficiency in your spiritual practice. When you understand that every external condition is simply the physical expression of a mental equivalent, you'll never again waste energy fighting circumstances. Instead, you'll focus entirely on holding the true image with unwavering faith. If you're recognizing how this principle has been operating in your life all along, write, "I am cause, not effect" in the comments. The revelations we're exploring about consciousness as the foundation of reality lead us to an even deeper understanding of your creative capacity, as we explore the mechanics of manifestation. Let me reveal what I call the operative trinity of creation, the precise sequence through which all manifestation unfolds. This three-step blueprint works with perfect precision: thought, the initial idea; feeling, the emotional charge; and form, the physical manifestation. This revelation transforms our understanding of how the Christ consciousness within us operates not outside this law, but directly through it. When Jesus said, "I and the Father are one," he wasn't claiming a unique status unavailable to others. He was demonstrating perfect alignment with this creative principle, showing us our own potential when we master this trinity. This understanding radically shifts how we approach prayer itself. True prayer isn't speaking, repeating phrases, or even thinking; it's seeing with the soul's eyes, through purified, focused imagination. The highest form of prayer is to imagine with such absolute clarity what you wish to manifest that you experience it as already real before any physical evidence appears. This journey of transformation requires moving beyond the traditional concept of prayer as petition to embrace prayer as visualization, a conscious act of seeing completed what has yet to manifest in form. The spiritual masters throughout history didn't beg or plead. They saw, felt, and knew with unshakable certainty. To help anchor this practice, I recommend creating what I call a response picture, an exact mental image of your desired result with specific sensory-rich details. The subconscious mind responds far better to vivid images than to abstract concepts or vague desires. It needs form, color, sensation, and emotional intensity to work with. For example, if you seek healing, don't merely affirm, "I am healthy." Instead, create a detailed scene of yourself walking energetically, laughing fully, moving without restriction. See the sparkle in your eyes, feel the vitality in your step, experience the joy of complete well-being. The subconscious needs this level of specificity to begin its transformative work. This revelation about the pictorial nature of effective prayer explains why some affirmations remain empty words while others rapidly manifest. Difference isn't in the words, but in the clarity and emotional intensity of the mental image they evoke. If you've begun seeing your desires as completed in your imagination before they appear in form, write, "I see what I create" in the comments. The dynamic relationship between your conscious and subconscious mind reveals even more profound insights about the creative process. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring a powerful catalyst for your creative imagination. The Bible contains what I call pictorial triggers, phrases that, when spoken with faith, automatically activate spiritual images in the mind. When you repeat, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," Your mind naturally paints a scene of provision, security, and trust. These aren't merely words. They're doorways to visual experiences that your subconscious can work with. This insight reveals the true purpose behind sacred texts. They're not primarily rule books or historical records, but image activation systems designed to transform consciousness through visualization. The journey of transformation accelerates dramatically when you discover which pictorial triggers resonate most powerfully with your particular mind and spirit. Yet this creative process requires something that's becoming increasingly rare in our conformist culture: independent judgment. As Ralph Waldo Emerson boldly declared, imitation is suicide. Trust yourself. You cannot build living, powerful images in your mind if you're constantly looking to others for validation or permission. Creative imagination requires inner sovereignty, the courage to see what others haven't yet seen, and to maintain that vision despite external opinions. This breakthrough mindset challenges the very foundation of how most people approach spiritual growth. The genuine spiritual pioneer isn't following the crowd, but rather cultivating the inner authority to trust their own direct experience with the divine. Have you ever wondered why Jesus taught primarily in parables rather than abstract theological concepts? He understood a fundamental truth about human consciousness. The soul learns through images, not ideas. The mind remembers scenes, not concepts. Each parable, the prodigal son, the lost sheep, the Good Samaritan, serves as a mental painting of spiritual truth, teaching through the power of visualization. These weren't merely entertaining stories, but precise tools designed to imprint specific images in the listener's consciousness. When Jesus spoke of the Father embracing his returning Son, he was creating a response picture that would transform how people imagined their relationship with God. If you found yourself remembering spiritual truths more easily through stories than through abstract concepts, write, "I learned through sacred images" in the comments. The relationship between emotion and imagination represents an even more powerful dimension of this creative process. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the hidden catalyst that turns mental images into physical reality. Every mental image you create needs an impulse to become embodied in your experience, and that impulse is feeling. Just as a seal leaves its impression in soft wax, authentic emotion imprints your mental image on the subconscious mind and fixes it there. This revelation transforms our approach to manifestation at its core. You can think many things, build elaborate mental pictures, repeat affirmations day and night, but if you don't infuse them with genuine emotion, none of it will penetrate the level where creation actually occurs. Thought directs, but feeling shapes. Thought draws the blueprint, but emotion brings it into form. The subconscious mind responds not to your words, but to the emotional vibration accompanying them. You can repeat, "I am prosperous," 10,000 times, but if you feel anxiety or lack while saying it, that's the frequency that gets imprinted. This insight reveals why many spiritual practices produce inconsistent results. They focus on the content of thought without addressing its emotional quality. One of the most powerful techniques to wrap your mental images with the appropriate feeling is what I call anticipated gratitude. When you give thanks for something before it physically manifests, you're creating a powerful emotional blueprint that accelerates manifestation. Gratitude, when sincere, cannot coexist with doubt. You cannot simultaneously feel thankful for something and believe it won't happen. When you express gratitude in advance, you're essentially telling your subconscious mind, "This already exists, even though I don't yet see it." This mental state creates a psychological framework that aligns perfectly with the creative process, bypassing the waiting period that doubt creates. But here's where most spiritual practitioners stumble on their journey. After forming a clear image, feeling its truth, and wrapping it in gratitude, they fail to perform the final crucial step: conscious surrender. Once you've done your part, you must release your creation to the universal. Intelligence without anxiety, without constantly checking for results, without micromanaging the how of its manifestation. Like a farmer who plants seeds and then allows natural processes to take over, your role is to trust the unfailing operation of spiritual law. If you recognize that you've been missing this vital surrender step in your manifestation process, write "I plant and trust" in the comments. The relationship between your conscious directive and the subconscious creative faculty illuminates yet another dimension of this spiritual science. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by addressing the inevitable challenge every spiritual practitioner faces: doubt. When those moments of uncertainty arise, and they will, the solution isn't to abandon your vision but to patiently rebuild the image, rekindle the feeling, repeat your gratitude, and release expectations once again. This resilient mindset transforms your spiritual journey from a series of emotional highs and lows into a steady, consistent practice of inner cultivation. The true spiritual work isn't always euphoric or emotionally charged. Sometimes it feels mechanical, even dry. But just as a farmer plants seeds regardless of mood or weather, your commitment to holding the vision despite fluctuating emotions becomes the hidden foundation of your manifestation breakthrough. This persistence through uncertainty represents the mature stage of your spiritual development, where consistency replaces momentary inspiration. Let me reveal something profoundly important about the obstacles to your transformation. In every human consciousness exist what I call clay idols, negative mental images charged with belief that dominate awareness. These aren't physical statues, but emotional images like fear, persistent guilt, resentment, or fixed perceptions of limitation that occupy dominant places in your mind. These psychological constructs aren't passive thoughts, they're active molds that keep the soul bound to repeated patterns of suffering. As long as these images live within your consciousness, no positive affirmation, however powerful, can operate freely. The mind cannot serve two masters simultaneously. It will always manifest according to its dominant imagery. This revelation leads us to a fundamental principle in the healing process. Before construction comes demolition. Every genuine transformation includes a necessary phase where the mental images sustaining disharmony must be completely undone before new ones can take root. You simply cannot build a new structure of consciousness on contaminated foundations. The mental ground must be cleared first. This is why many manifestation attempts fail despite sincere effort. People try to build new positive images while simultaneously maintaining contradictory negative ones. It's like attempting to construct a beautiful new home without first removing the broken down structure already occupying the land. The decision to tear down old mental constructs requires courage, but it creates the essential space where true healing begins. If you recognize that you've been harboring clay idols in your consciousness that need to be dismantled, write "ready for mental demolition" in the comments. The techniques for systematically dissolving these negative mental constructs reveal a practical pathway to permanent transformation. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing a remarkably effective technique for transforming negative thought patterns: conscious substitution. This approach isn't about repressing negative thoughts, which only strengthens them, but systematically replacing them with higher images. The moment a fearful image appears in your mind, immediately substitute a scene of security and protection. When guilt surfaces, visualize reconciliation and acceptance in its place. When resentment arises, replace it with a picture of harmony. This substitution practice works because your mind cannot think two thoughts simultaneously. When you deliberately occupy mental space with the correct image, the incorrect one simply cannot persist. This isn't positive thinking, it's spiritual science, working with the mechanics of consciousness itself. This approach allows you to leverage moments of negativity as triggers for transformation, rather than obstacles to it. The journey of inner growth leads us to perhaps the most powerful application of imaginative technique: forgiveness. True forgiveness isn't merely saying, "I forgive you," with your lips while harboring the memory of hurt. It's generating an entirely new emotional image where the conflict has been completely resolved, a scene where you and the other person exist in perfect peace, where there is no debt, wound, or condemnation. This inner work doesn't require the other person's participation or even their knowledge. What matters is freeing your own consciousness from the energetic burden of resentment. The creative power previously trapped in maintaining old wounds becomes available for healing and manifestation once released through this imaginative reconciliation. This practice directly connects to the deepest principle of healing itself. True healing isn't about correcting physical errors, but restoring in mind the perfect image of the body with such unwavering conviction that the physical form has no choice but to follow. Disease isn't a real enemy. It's a distorted image the mind has accepted and projected onto the body. Every bodily function responds, directly or indirectly, to the blueprint held in consciousness. When you consistently hold the vision of perfect wholeness, despite contradictory evidence from the senses, you're engaging the very mechanism through which all healing occurs. This is why Jesus didn't struggle against symptoms. He saw through them to the divine blueprint underneath. If you're beginning to understand, your body doesn't need your worry, but your vision. Right. I hold the perfect image in the comments. The practical application of these principles through specific mental disciplines opens up even more powerful dimensions. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by offering you a concrete tool that transforms these principles into daily practice. A mental prescription sheet. This isn't abstract theory, but a practical application that creates tangible results. Create a private document where you precisely describe the perfect vision of your body in present tense, not as you hope it will be someday, but as it exists now in divine reality. Write statements like, "My lungs breathe deeply with ease and joy," or "My joints move freely without pain," or "Every cell in my body vibrates with light and vitality." The key insight is to read this document silently 2 or 3 times daily, not hurriedly, but with reflection, seeing each statement as you read it. This isn't merely positive thinking. It's a precise instruction directed to your subconscious mind that, when repeated with genuine emotion, generates physical transformation. This same approach reveals a revolutionary understanding about prosperity itself. True abundance isn't about accumulation or hoarding, but about harmonious circulation, receiving without fear and expressing without holding back. This represents a complete paradigm shift from conventional thinking about wealth. The breakthrough realization is that money doesn't originate in things but in ideas. Currency is merely a form of circulation, and your consciousness determines its flow. Many people block prosperity by focusing on scarcity while simultaneously praying for abundance, a contradiction that neutralizes their creative power. You cannot attract what you mentally reject. You cannot manifest what you secretly judge or fear. One of the most transformative practices I've discovered is what I call mental tithing of gratitude. Just as some traditions teach giving a portion of income as a sign of trust, internally, you must daily give part of your attention to contemplating the good you already possess, regardless of current circumstances. This practice of constant recognition creates the ideal psychological environment for new ideas and forms to circulate in your life. When you mentally acknowledge and bless what you have, even if it seems inadequate, you're preparing the ground for greater manifestation. The mind that appreciates attracts more to appreciate. The consciousness that blesses becomes a magnet for blessing. If you've experienced the power of gratitude in transforming your financial reality, write "grateful mind, abundant life" in the comments. The relationship between your mental images and your relationships reveals another dimension of this creative principle. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing a profound truth about your relationships that most people never discover. Every human connection in your life, whether harmonious or conflicted, is actually a mirror reflecting your inner state. No bond exists by chance. No person appears in your experience randomly. What you experience in relationships is a direct projection of your mental emotional content. This revelation transforms how you approach every interaction in your life. When someone responds to you with anger, criticism, or distance, the spiritual scientist doesn't point fingers outward, but looks within, asking what mental equivalent might be drawing this experience. This isn't about blame, but about discovering your point of power in relationships. The breakthrough understanding is that when your inner content transforms, your relationships must change according to spiritual law. You don't need to fix, change, or manipulate others. You need only to adjust the image you hold in consciousness. This represents a complete paradigm shift from conventional relationship advice that focuses on techniques for changing others. I've witnessed remarkable relationship healings when people apply this principle. Family dynamics that seemed permanently broken transformed without external effort once the individual changed their inner imagery. Business partnerships flourished when leaders adjusted their mental equivalent. The external world reorganizes itself around your dominant inner vision with mathematical precision. This same principle extends to our collective experience as humanity. A transformed world doesn't begin with legislation, protests, or external reform, but with transformed minds. Deep, lasting change isn't imposed by force, but born in imagination, settled in hearts, then expressed outwardly in visible structures and systems. The new earth, prophesied in spiritual traditions, isn't a geographical location, but a collective mental, conditioned and interior redeemed atmosphere that, when multiplied in millions of souls, inevitably produces a transformed world. Each person who holds consistent images of peace, harmony, and abundance becomes a silent architect of this emerging reality. If you recognize your power to transform your world through transformed consciousness, write, "I am building the new earth" in the comments. The daily disciplines required to sustain this creative vision reveal practical pathways to making this not just a beautiful theory, but a lived reality. As we've explored these timeless principles of divine imagination together, I hope you've recognized something profound. This isn't just ancient wisdom, but a practical science of creation that you can apply immediately in your daily life. These teachings aren't meant to stay as beautiful concepts, but to become living realities expressed through your consciousness. If what we've discussed today has resonated with you at a deep level, I'd love for you to become part of this growing community of conscious creators. Subscribe to this channel if you're ready to continue this journey of spiritual exploration and practical transformation. The principles we're uncovering together form a complete system for reimagining your entire life from the inside out. When you liked what you experienced today, that simple click on the like button helps these teachings reach others who are searching for the same inner awakening. It's a small gesture that creates ripples of positive impact. If you've made it all the way to this conclusion, you've demonstrated the kind of commitment that genuine transformation requires. Let me know you're truly present by commenting, "My imagination creates my reality," below. I've prepared another exploration that builds directly on what we've covered today. It's about how to maintain your divine vision, even when the world seems to contradict it. Click the video appearing now to continue deepening your practice of Christ-centered imagination. I'll meet you there to continue this sacred conversation.